Hi, I'm Nicola from the People Mentor, and today I'm talking about something that affects every leader and manager I work with. Those limiting thoughts that show up right when you're about to make important decisions. In my 30 plus years of leadership experience and now supporting SME business owners, I've watched those thoughts stop incredibly capable people from growing their businesses. They create roadblocks that hold you back, both you and your team. Let me share a common scenario. You need to have a difficult conversation with an underperforming team member, but your inner voice says, maybe I'm being too harsh, or what if they quit? Or perhaps you're considering expanding your team, but that nagging thought appears, can I really manage more people? Take a moment to reflect on your last major decision as a leader. What thoughts came up? How did they influence your actions? These thoughts aren't random. They're actually your brain's protective mechanism. Understanding this is crucial because while they're trying to keep you safe, they often end up limiting your potential as a leader and your business growth. I see this play out daily with the managers and business owners I support. Capable leaders holding back from making necessary changes or having important conversations because of these limiting beliefs. The most successful leaders I work with don't lack these thoughts. They've simply learned how to work with them effectively. So throughout this podcast, I'm going to share some practical techniques I use with my clients to manage these thoughts productively. You'll learn to recognise when they're happening, understand their impact on your leadership and business decisions, and develop strategies to move forward confidently. I'll include real examples from SME leaders I've supported. I'll give you immediate tools for managing those thoughts when they arise and help you build lasting confidence in your leadership decisions. Are you ready to become more confident in your leadership? Let's begin. So understanding mind monkeys. I've worked with lots of leaders and managers in SMEs, and I consistently see three key thought patterns that hold them back. I'm certain that you'll recognise at least one of them. The first is what I call the perfectionist thinking. It shows up under the guise of maintaining high standards. One manager I worked with spent months fine-tuning a new performance management process, adjusting forms, tweaking criteria, revisiting documentation. Meanwhile, his team needed clear feedback and direction. So do you find yourself endlessly refining processes or documents? Next is self-doubt thinking. This often appears around leadership decisions or managing team performance. Recently, a client had been avoiding addressing poor performance in her team for months. When we explored why, she revealed she felt she needed more management training first, despite successfully leading teams for over 5 years. The third is comparison thinking. With LinkedIn and business networking, it's easy to believe every other manager has everything sorted while you're still learning. A business owner I support recently shared how she felt inadequate seeing others leaders posting about their success, not realising these same leaders were in my sessions sharing similar doubts. These thoughts typically surface during crucial leadership moments, when you need to have difficult conversations, before you're implementing significant changes, as you're expanding your team, when you're presenting to senior management, before making tough business decisions. So your body responds to these thoughts as if they were actual threats. Your heart rate increases, you might feel tense, and your stomach will probably churn. This affects your sleep, your decision making, and your leadership confidence. Take Mark's situation, and I've changed the name here. As an operations manager, he was struggling with an expanding team. His perfectionist thinking had him micromanaging every single bit of the process. His self-doubt kept him from delegating effectively. His comparison to other managers had him constantly second-guessing his leadership style. So after learning to manage those thoughts, he developed a much more confident leadership approach. His team became much more autonomous, productivity increased, and he finally felt comfortable in his role. So remember, while these thoughts aim to protect you in leadership, they often prevent growth, both yours and your team's. So let's talk about the real impact these limiting thoughts have on your business and leadership. I want you to perhaps pause the podcast and take a moment and note down one leadership decision you've been avoiding. Keep this in mind as we continue. I've seen these thoughts cost me significant time, money, and growth opportunities. Here's what typically happens. You hold back from charging market rates for your services because you question your expertise. I supported a management consultant who charged £500 per day when similar consultants were charging £1,200. That's £700 lost every day, adding up to over £140,000 in lost revenue that year. There's also the time cost. A business owner I work with spent 2 days crafting a proposal for a potential client. The real issue? She kept second-guessing every detail. Think about what else she could have achieved in those 2 days. I regularly see leaders avoiding necessary but difficult conversations with team members, staying with small projects rather than bidding for larger contracts, spending hours overthinking team communications, keeping underperforming staff because they fear making changes. I'll share my own experience. Early in my management career, I avoided specialising in my true area of expertise. My thoughts told me, what if you limit your opportunities? The result? I spread myself too thin, I worked excessive hours and couldn't develop my team effectively. Everything shifted when I started calculating the actual cost of those thoughts. So try this for an exercise. Look at that decision you noted earlier. Calculate its monthly cost to your business. Consider the revenue impact, the wasted time, the team productivity, the leadership effectiveness, and the growth opportunities. So for instance, if you're delaying hiring needed support at $30,000 per year, calculate the cost of your time doing these tasks instead of leading and growing the business. If your time is worth £100 per hour and you spend 10 hours weekly on those tasks, that's £1,000 per week or £52,000 annually. But the biggest cost isn't financial. It's the impact on your leadership confidence. Each time those thoughts win, they become stronger and you avoid a decision. It becomes harder to make the next one. So let's get practical. So I'm going to share the exact techniques I use with my SME clients to manage those limiting thoughts and make confident leadership decisions. The first is what I call notice and name. When you catch yourself hesitating over a decision, pause and name the thought. Is it I'm not experienced enough? Or what if I get it wrong? Simply naming it reduces its power. One of my clients keeps a small notebook and jots down these thoughts. She says it helps her spot patterns and tackle them head on. Next, create your evidence file. This is a document or folder where you collect proof of your capabilities. You include positive feedback, successful projects, challenges you've overcome. When those doubting thoughts creep in before a big presentation or a difficult conversation, open your evidence file. One business owner I work reads through hers before every sales meeting. It's helped her increase her conversion rate by 40%. The small actions approach is perfect for when you're feeling overwhelmed. Break down big decisions into tiny steps. Works every time. Rather than I need to restructure the team, start with I'll draft one job description today. A manufacturing client used this to completely reorganise his production team over 12 weeks, something he'd been putting off for a year. My Power Hour method helps tackle procrastination. Set aside one focused hour each week for those tasks your mind keeps avoiding. During this hour, you commit to taking action, no matter how small. A retail manager I support uses her Power Hour to handle staff performance issues. She's gone from avoiding difficult conversations to confidently managing her team's development. For pricing confidence, try the price list challenge. Write down your prices each week, increase them by 10% until you feel uncomfortable. Then sit with that discomfort. Ask yourself what evidence you have that clients won't pay this rate. One consultant I worked with doubled her income using this technique. And then the decision timer is brilliant for overthinking. Set a timer for important decisions, 15 minutes for small ones, an hour for bigger ones. When the timer goes off, you must choose. A tech company I support use this to stop spending days on minor decisions, freeing up time to focus on their growth. And remember to build your support squad, people who boost your confidence and challenge your limiting thoughts. Include mentors, peers, and trusted team members. Meet regularly to share challenges and successes. Now for some quick emergency tools. For presentations, focus on your audience's needs rather than in your performance. What value can you offer them? One client repeats to herself they need to hear this information rather than worrying about her delivery. For pricing conversations, prepare 3 tiers of pricing. Having options helps you feel more confident in those discussions. State your prices clearly and then stay silent. Don't undermine yourself by over-explaining. And for feedback sessions, use the situation behaviour impact format. Stick to specific examples rather than generalisations. One manager I support keeps this structure written on a card in a desk drawer. For difficult conversations, start with I've noticed rather than making assumptions. Follow with can you help me understand? This opens up dialogue rather than creating defensiveness. Remember, these tools work because they focus on action rather than endless thinking. Choose one to try this week and notice what changes. Now I'm going to share how to maintain this momentum and build lasting leadership confidence. So let's share how to make those changes stick and build that confidence. I find that implementing new habits work best for when you start small. So here's what I recommend. Start your day with a 5-minute confidence practice. One business owner I support reads her evidence file with her morning coffee. Another spends 5 minutes planning his most important leadership action for the day. The key is making it so simple you can't talk yourself out of it. And then set up a weekly check-in with yourself. Every Friday, I take 15 minutes to review what leadership decisions I made, what I avoided, and what I learned. One manager does this while walking around his factory. He says it helps him spot patterns in his decision making. Monthly, zoom out and look at your progress. I keep this practical. What's working better with your team? What decisions feel easier? What still makes you hesitate? A client tracks her confidence in having difficult conversation. She went from avoiding them completely to handling them within days of noticing issues. Now, for those mindset shifts that make the biggest difference, When you catch yourself thinking, who am I to lead this team? Flip it to, who am I to hold back their growth by not stepping up? One of my clients put this on a post-it note on her desk. She says it reminds her that confident leadership serves everyone. If I'm not ready pops up before a big decision, add, and I'll figure it out as I go. A tech company owner I support used this when scaling his team from 5 to 20 people. He didn't have all the answers, but he learned what he needed along the way, and he got support when he needed it too. Looking long term, building sustainable confidence comes from consistent small actions. Create clear boundaries around your time and energy. One client now blocks out 2 hours each week for strategic thinking. No interruptions allowed. Develop your own measure of success. Perhaps it's how quickly you make decisions or how clearly you communicate with your team. A business owner I work with tracks how often she speaks up in board meetings. It's helped her contribute more confidently. Set up regular support systems. This might be monthly meetings with other business owners, working with a mentor, or joining a leadership group. Having somewhere to share challenges keeps you actually moving forward. Remember, confidence isn't about never having doubting thoughts. It's about not letting them stop you every time you take action. Despite those thoughts, you're strengthening your leadership muscles. Start with one small change this week. Perhaps it's that morning confidence practice or setting up your evidence file. Notice what shifts. Let me leave you with some immediate tools you can use and start today. When those limiting thoughts get loud, try this quick technique I teach all my clients. Take 4 slow breaths, focusing on making you exhale longer than you inhale. You can do this anywhere, before a team meeting, during a challenging conversation, or when you're about to make an important decision. So here's your action for today. Choose one leadership decision you've been avoiding. Set a timer for 15 minutes and take one small step towards it. Maybe it's drafting that email you've been putting off or noting down talking points for a difficult conversation. One business owner I support used this to finally address an underperforming team member. She said those 15 minutes changed everything. And remember this, when the inner critic voice gets particularly noisy, it usually means you're about to do something important. One of my clients says she now sees her loudest doubting thoughts as signposts pointing towards growth. The bigger the thought, the bigger the opportunity. So take a moment now and decide which strategy you'll use tomorrow. Will you start your evidence file, set up your power hour, begin the price list challenge? Write it down. I find we're more likely to follow through when we make specific commitments. I know these thoughts can feel overwhelming, but you don't have to handle them alone. I work with SME leaders every day, helping them build the confidence to lead effectively and grow their businesses. If you'd like support developing your leadership confidence, book a call with me. We'll look at your specific challenges and we'll create a practical plan to move forward. You'll find my contact details below. Remember, every confident leader you admire has these same thoughts. They've just learned to work with them rather than be stopped by them. Thank you for listening. I'm Nicola from The People Mentor, supporting you to create winning teams and successful businesses. Until next time, thank you.